Hey guys, this is Dan from learningcameras.com, and here we have the 35mm Canon f2 IS, brand new, against the Sigma 35mm f1.4. Now this one doesn't have stabilization, the Canon does. The Sigma though will open up to f1.4, but is it good enough at f1.4 to be able to use it there, and will be most of the time just be sticking to f2.0 anyway. Now we'll take a look at these lenses, see how they compare. When you first pick these lenses up, there really is no comparison. The Sigma is going to be a metal lens. It is weighty. It is much larger than something like the Canon. It is just definitely a whole new breed of lens. Also, you're going to get the lens hood included in the Sigma, whereas on the Canon it's a $50 option. Now right now the Canon is $50 cheaper though, so you'll be able to get the camera or the lens and the lens cap for the Canon for $900, whereas that is going to be the price of a Sigma, already including the lens hood. So both of these lenses are going to be right around that same price, and we'll see what they do on prices. The Canon lenses typically have stayed at the same prices for a little bit longer as some of the third-party lenses like Sigma and Tamron and most of those. But this is a whole new breed of lens. It looks gorgeous in comparison to the Canon. If you're used to using your focus ring also, it's pretty hard to get on the Canon. It's a very, very small focus ring, very, very weighted. Now on the Sigma, it's not quite as weighted as a Canon. It does have a good amount. It's going to be easier to do a throw on the Sigma very, very quickly. Also, it has a very, very large grip surface area, much larger and grippier than the Canon. So if you're using your manual focus a lot more, then that's going to be a better option for you on the Sigma. It does have a lot more room, so it's much easier to build that into the lens. Now lens caps, this is one of the first times we've talked about lens caps, because this is the first Canon lens to actually come out with their new pinch cap. It looks very similar to the Sigma in many ways. It's actually probably a little easier to get to the Canon than the Sigma. The Sigma is a little less area for you to get your fingers in, where the Canon provides even more area. I will say that I prefer the fit of the Sigma and the way that it snaps onto the lens. It's a little bit easier to get on, but like I said, the pinch area is a little bit smaller and narrower. If you have larger fingers or larger hands, you're going to have a little more difficult time getting in there. Very small. At least we're getting the pinch cap on the Canon. This is, once I said, one of their first ones to do it. All of their lens caps from now on will be this pinch, and you can finally get the lens cap on with the lens hood still on that lens. Now we'll go ahead and do a sharpness, and we'll take a look at the vignetting on both of these lenses together. I'm going to go ahead and mount them both onto the same camera, the Canon 6D, which is also a brand new camera, and we'll go ahead and take a picture right here. And what we're going to do first is shoot this at f2. And then we're going to drop it down, and we're going to shoot this at f4. And then we'll bring it down once more and shoot it at f5.6. And looking at those images, it's pretty clear to see that all of them look great. No problems with any of the shots. Everything is very sharp. They do have a good amount of vignetting though, but we'll go ahead and put up the Sigma, and we'll go ahead and do a comparison to that. Now we're going to go ahead and bring in the Sigma and see how those shots look. We're going to shoot our first one the same as the Canon at f2, and then we'll go ahead and bring that down, and we're going to shoot that at f4, and then once more at f5.6. Now for this test, we do have a little bit of bonus for you. You're going to get to see some side-by-side footage between the 5D Mark III and the new Canon 6D. So we've got both of these lenses mounted up. I've got the Sigma mounted up to the Canon 6D, and then I have the new 35mm Canon mounted to the 5D Mark III. And so from both of those, we're going to do some shooting, and we'll see if we can see any differences between having image stabilization and not. Remember, that's one of the biggest benefits to this lens, is being able to have that ability. So if we just go ahead and take some shots, and we're just going to do some panning. This is handheld, and I'm just going to walk around with both of these. And if you're shooting video, you can see the results between these and see if image stabilization is something that you're going to be needing in order to help that out. And then you can get a little bit of a comparison between how these cameras compare and how these lenses will compare shooting video. Now when we take a look at the results for both of these, we can see that neither one of them look that great. When we look in at the Canon at 100%, everything is round, it looks nice from that perspective, but we are seeing some concentric rings when we zoom into 100%, not as smooth as I would have liked. Also when we take a look at the Sigma, it is round as well, but we're also seeing some of those concentric rings. Honestly, they look about equal in this. I wouldn't give an advantage to either one of them. Both of them perform very well when you look from far back, but when you zoom in real close, it starts to get a little bit ugly on that. So that concludes our tests with the Canon 35mm f2 and the Sigma 35mm f4. Now, going over some of those results again, we're seeing that the focusing on the Canon is probably a little quicker, but in most cases the Sigma was just as good as the Canon, and that is because the Canon has probably a greater distance of throw, it looks like, in what the focus can rotate before it achieves maximum focus from close to far. It's actually a long distance compared to the Sigma. The Sigma is very, very close. So because of that, the Sigma is actually able to achieve focus a little bit quicker, even though the Canon motor is a little bit faster. And we've seen this on other Canon lenses as well, where the motor is very, very quick, but the distance that it has to travel is so much greater. Now, as far as sharpness goes, at f2, they're very, very close. I'll give a slight edge to the Canon. I had to study them for about 30 seconds at 200% in order to see the differences. So really and truly at f2, you're going to be blown away by either lens. They were both incredibly sharp. Actually, at f4, I actually thought that the Sigma was a little bit sharper than the Canon. It was a little bit more noticeable too. So the Sigma might in general be a little bit sharper on most of those, but at f2 they were about identical. Now we've tested the Sigma before, and we all know that the Sigma is great even at f1.4, so that's a huge advantage to be able to get over a stop more of light into that lens. Now of course this has an image stabilized, it is an image stabilized lens, so you have the addition of having that. If you're shooting landscape, something that's not moving, you will be able to go much slower on your shutter speeds than you will with the Sigma. And also we did a video test so you can see the results on whether or not you feel like you need image stabilization for your video work. In most cases it's very helpful, and in most cases it's actually pretty necessary to have it there. Now as far as vignetting, this is one of the weakest points of the Canon. Thank goodness this is not a big deal because we can pull it out in software using something like Lightroom. They should have some basically presets to be able to pull out that very shortly, as this lens just came out. So we are seeing probably at f2 we're seeing about the similar results to the Sigma at f1.4. That's pretty bad for having that much vignetting into that. Basically the whole outside of the frame, even working its way into the center, was about 2 stops darker than the rest of it. At f4 it disappeared. So you're really only looking between f2 and f4 that is going to be an issue on there. We did see it get a little bit better at f2 weight, but once again you are going to see that in there. Now as far as the build quality, this is just, it's like comparing a regular lens with an L lens. This is really L lens quality for those of you used to Canon. This is going to be more in line with what their 85-1.8 is. It's a little bit better than their old 50mm 1.4, but not night and day. It's just a little bit better. It's a little bit thicker. I like it. It's easier to hold. It is much lighter than something like this. These are going to be metal pretty much all the way around, and they're going to be much bigger and heavier. So if you're looking for smaller and lighter, you're actually probably going to prefer something like this than the Sigma or the Canon. But once again, we have to consider that these are the same prices, and for this price you actually get the lens hood. It's $50 more for this lens with the lens hood right now than this lens right here without the lens hood. But adding that $50 lens hood option, which Canon should really have included, and I'm really upset that they would not in a $900 lens, you are looking at the same price for both of these two. So would you prefer the image stabilization or would you prefer the wider aperture? Both of them are going to get incredible sharpness, but once again at f2 that's probably not a big concern.